Welcome back to the off-season episode of the Mid City Podcast, or I should say the first off-season episode of the podcast. Jack Ramsey and Tony Slater, as always, and we got some news. We got some news, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be 5 more years of the Trumpets in Citi Field. It hasn't been official yet, but all the reports are that the Mets and Edwin Diaz are agreeing on a record-setting contract for relievers. 5 years, $102 million with the team option for a 6 year that could make it $122 million. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was an opt-out after the third year, full no trade, some deferrals in there to help the Mets with the collective balance tax for this year, which is, smart as hell on their part. But Jack, as we both really thought, Edwin Diaz doesn't even sniff free agency.
No, I mean the league year ends, and within a day, he's re-upped in Queens. Of all the moves the Mets could have made this winter, this one made the most sense. I mean, you can blast them all you want for the money, but in the end, it's not your money, it's not my money. They have infinite money to spend. They're clearly going to blow through whatever competitive balance thresholds and penalties there are. It's just by giving a reliever $20 million, you're kind of signaling that. Um, it just makes as much logical sense as possible.
Yeah, and
And
I
I
love
think,
what you and a couple other people said. It's like people want to trash the Mets for giving a reliever $100 million, but if this were any other team, they'd be praising them and bending over backwards trying to find ways to sing the praises of other teams. Like if the Dodgers did it, oh, here come the Dodgers again. If the Angels did it, it's like, oh, the Angels are spending. If the Yankees did it, it's forget about it. But because it's the Mets and because it's re-signing the guy for $100 million, it's like, oh, this is a bad deal. Guys, I don't know if you know this. Over the past 3 years, he's been arguably the best reliever in baseball each and every year. He has like a sub-2 ERA. His K per nine's through the roof. Last year was the best year of reliever. I can't even say in how long. But this is clearly their priority. Of the three big names, I think this one, as you said, made the most sense to bring back and get done the quickest. And it happened. Good for Billy Epler, good for Steve Cohen, and now they have a lot more work to do. But they're signifying that they're not going to sit back and wait for the market to to set it. They're the ones going to set the market. They're going to go after all the big names. And again, Steve Cohen's opening press conference, he said they want to win a 3 to 5 year window. Well, guess what, buddy? This is year 3, so let's see what happens.
yeah, I mean, they are going to have their hands in a lot of different areas. Um, Mike May reported this morning that there is interest from the Mets in Trey Turner, and that there's some thought that they can make a run there. He said there's been a lot of buzz there over the last 24 hours. So it's clear that they're going to get creative and be open to most anything.
Yeah,
We've seen Nemo linked to the Rockies. We've seen him linked to Kansas City. I think when you get in a spot where it's younger teams who start to need some core pieces and are willing to spend to get them, if you're the Mets and you're getting bid up to the point where you're looking at 25, 26 million a year, at what point do you might as well just say screw it and give Trey Turner 28, 29, 30 a year?
right.
It's really that $5 million, $4 million difference in money is going to be more than made up for in production.
Absolutely. Without question, you look at someone like Trey Turner, he's one of the top, what, 3 guys at his position over the course of his career. So now you get him, you slide him to second base or center field, whatever it may be. You're bolstering the offense. You have a guy that could replace him at the top of the lineup if he were to go elsewhere. The guy's a stud. And another benefit of if you signing Trey Turner is that Trey Turner can't kill you anymore. The guy demolishes the Mets. So I'm not going to read too much into it. And the entire time I've been trying to not really see the Trey Turner to the Mets as a realistic possibility because I don't want to get myself excited for something that's not going to happen. But if that were to happen, incredible stuff. He's one of the best players in baseball.
And I think it's just he's dynamic.
Yeah, that's definitely
I
one
think
word for him.
that's and the Mets just don't have a lot of those guys.
Right.
The Mets have a lot of solid offensive contributors, but they don't have they just don't have dynamic guys.
Yeah, because I think as of right now, he'd say the most dynamic player on the Mets, Starling Marte, lineup wise.
Not even. I don't think Starling Marte is dynamic offensively.
But I'm saying if you had to pick the
Probably
most,
Jeff McNeil.
I guess, yeah,
I mean, he's about to win a Silver Slugger at second base because no one else at that position should win it.
right,
He doesn't strike out a lot. He's always putting the ball in play. I mean, he's probably your most dynamic offensive player.
definitely has the argument for it. Yeah,
But I mean, like you want guys who are solid pieces or like kind of one or two dimensional. Like Alonso puts the bat in the ball, has a lot of power, but he's not dynamic.
mm-hmm,
You know, Lindor goes through insane hot and cold streaks.
mm-hmm,
Marte is solid. A bunch of other guys are solid,
yeah,
but you don't have that one like keystone
yeah.
dynamic piece.
No, I know that's. I
It's,
mean,
it's either McNeil or Alonso.
right. But then you add a guy like Trey Turner, and dynamic is one of the first three words you think of when you think of Trey Turner. He's he's in contention for a batting title every year. He's going to hit 20 home runs. He
He'll
drove in
steal
100
25,
RBI
30
last year.
bases.
He's going to steal if he's healthy. He might steal 40 bags. Like one of the best players in baseball. So we'll see what happens. He's going to have an interesting market. I'd be intrigued to see if he would take a contract to play a different position because the Mets have the shortstop position locked up. But who knows? We do have some other Mets news to talk about. Daniel Vogelbach's option was picked up. That was, I mean, as obvious as could be. 1.5 mil for a guy that produced at his level, and a lot of people are going to say that they should have let him go. But 1.5 mil for a guy that had like what a 140 WRC plus with the Mets. He draws walks, he slugs, he mashes righties. It was an absolute no brainer.
He's got a weird contract too. So
Doesn't
it
he?
wasn't even about team control. It was about picking up his option. Even if they declined his option, he was still under team control for 2 more years.
Okay.
It came down to whether or not they wanted to go through arbitration with him.
I feel like
You
they'd have to
know,
pay more in arbitration.
it's just, the arbitration is a process that pisses everyone off.
Right.
Because if you think, all right, well, I'm an $8 million player, and the team's like, well, we think you're a $6 million player. It's like, well, what the fuck? Fuck you. I'm an $8 million player.
Yeah.
It's an ugly process that no one likes.
Yeah. It burns
Players
bridges
don't
very
like
quickly.
doing it. Right. Players don't like doing it. Um, Teams don't like doing it. Agents don't love doing it.
Yeah.
Burns bridges, sours relationships.
It just gives a bad look because like as a fan, right? If we see I hate to bash on the Yankees, but like with the whole Aaron Judge thing last year, they went to arbitration over what was it, like $400,000. It's Aaron Judge. You give him the money. Same thing. Like it happens all the time. It's not just the Yankees, but just the other example off the top of my head was Dellin Betances. He was the first really notable guy that went to arbitration over like $200,000 or something like that. It's and then it's as a fan base, it's such a bad optic that you're not willing to kind of meet in the middle there. That and so many fans are pro player at this point, so that makes the organization look bad. So, like you said, arbitration is an ugly, ugly process that burns bridges, it sours relationships, and just
That's why
makes you look bad
everyone
to the fan base.
everyone tries to avoid them. That's why teams buy out arbitration years.
Yeah, and it's smart. It's
But
the
so
way
for
to go.
Vogelback, it came down to either the contract that was structured in, I want to say Seattle,
Probably Seattle.
or just go through arbitration and keep people happy.
Yeah,
Avoid arbitration as long as you can. So, on top of that, I don't think we're gonna know about the. I don't think we'll ever know if the Mets picked up Chris Bassett's option or not.
right,
You'd assume they did.
right,
But he officially declined his just moments ago. Taiwan Walker and Jacob DeGrom opted out.
right. As well as several others, but we're focusing on the Mets ones here.
Yeah, I mean, notably else, Bogarts, Correa, Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, Robert Suarez is an interesting name too.
He is. The official list is Bogarts, Correa, Nelson Cruz, Zach Davies, DeGrom, Profar, Rodon, Suarez, Walker.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they have that mutual option on Michael Givens.
What does that go for?
I think like 3 million.
Oh, okay. It's not bad. But the
He
Bassett one, I think we all saw coming. This is going to be probably his last chance to get paid. If he gets a 3 to 5 year deal, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not closing the door on him coming back to the Mets because I want to believe the relationship there was solid.
I am.
But all
Especially because
right.
I mean they were sitting I want to say around 250 million going into the winter on their payroll. Ugh, something like that. So they already had a pretty high number. I mean, obviously, it's pretty clear they're gonna blow through all their um, they're gonna blow through all their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're currently sitting at 196. That's before that's before Diaz. No, never mind. I'm not gonna use this site. Still DeGrom on there. But
Oh
they're
yeah,
probably effectively right now with 11 pending free agents. They're somewhere between 150 and 200 million.
okay,
That's with half your active roster about to hit the market.
right,
So obviously they're going to spending a lot of money. That's not counting Edwin Diaz.
right.
You're going to need to either bring back Brandon Nimmo or replace Brandon Nimmo. You need to spend money on starting pitching. Maybe it's something like bringing Taiwan Walker back, bringing DeGrom back, and bringing in like a Zach Davies. I don't quite know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just don't see the Mets committing the years to Chris Bassett.
Yeah,
Chris
yeah,
Bassett,
that's
in
fair.
theory, can get anywhere between 3 years for 60 million and probably 5 years for 100 plus.
Right. She's what, 33 now?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
his age 33 season. And it's just, I don't think it's something the Mets are going to be active in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you slap the qualifying offer on him. You wish him the best. You thank him for a great year, and you let him go. So, I mean, in theory, if you can, let's say you bring DeGrom and Walker back,
Right.
you're penciling in DeGrom, Walker, Peterson, Scherzer.
Right.
At that point,
As of
you're
now,
only
probably McGill,
well.
but
I
Carrasco
still
too.
don't think right. No, you can pick up that option on Carrasco, bring back Walker and DeGrom, pencil Peterson in, and then go DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, Peterson, Carrasco. I mean, no
Yeah.
one's complaining about that if your sixth starter is Tyler McGill.
I mean, no. I mean, and with those five, as it is, that's probably a top
Three,
12 rotation in baseball.
three,
You think
four.
top three? I'm saying like one
There
through
aren't.
five. Not. I mean, it obviously with the top two, it's the best 1-2 in baseball. But
Yeah.
as a
Well,
whole,
I
I
mean,
think
Taiwan. If you bring back Taiwan Walker, who sat in the mid threes for much of last year,
right.
finally got through a full season. People have to shit on Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco is solid, dependable, reliable, which is all you can ask
It's
out
a
of a
damn good
five.
guy. Yeah.
David Peterson, when he was not shuffled back and forth between Syracuse twice a week, was pretty strong. It very much is rotation with a lot of potential and a very minimal floor aside from injuries.
Yeah. I think
The only thing that
I
really can
think
undo
regardless, they're
that,
bringing outside names for the rotation though.
I'm just really not sure they do. I think it's right there sitting for them.
Yeah.
I mean, the option on Carrasco almost feels like a no brainer.
It's what, 14 mil?
14 million, 3 million buyout.
Dude,
And
it's
it's only 1 year. One
yeah.
year at 11 million for Carrasco is easy.
For a guy that's gonna make 28 to 30 starts, he's gonna pitch 150, 160 innings. He's gonna pitch a sub 3.7 ERA.
I mean, he pitched to a 3.95 last year.
Like, say what you want about Carlos Carrasco, but for the people that are making the same amount of money, it's an absolute no brainer. It is an absolute no brainer. Um, 14 million for that production, you're not going to get that much elsewhere. Let's see who would else be
You're
making.
really not.
Uh, trying to find this here. Mm-mm.
The only thing I can maybe see them doing is looking to the trade market for someone like a Tyler Mahle.
Yeah, but like, so Krask would be making 14 million. That's less than Eduardo Rodriguez, who is not good. Miles Michaelis, who is eh. Madison Bumgarner, who I get, you get the contract based on reputation, whatever.
Still
Jose
not good.
Barrios was a disaster, and he's making 18 million. Charlie Morton's making 20 million. Hyun-Jin Ryu's making 20 million. Noah Syndergaard made 21 million. Like, just based on, it's not really fair to just base it on the market, but for looking at the production that those guys are making, for making significantly more than a guy like Carlos Carrasco, why is this even a thought?
Carrasco, and I mean, Carrasco probably one of the three best years of that group. It's probably him and Morton who had the best years there.
Yeah.
And these are guys who are probably looking at 1 year contracts the rest of the way.
Patrick Corbin made 23 million. Come on.
14 million is a steal for Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you go on the Fangraphs projections, and there are a couple other places that are seeing a 3-year deal for a guy like Jacob deGrom.
I believe it.
If deGrom wants a 3-year deal, again, how is this even a thought? I get it would be an insane number, and the AAV would be insane. But I was under the assumption deGrom would be looking for about 5 years. It would be his sure thing last contract, and then he ride up to the sunset and walk to Cooperstown.
I see the
But
problem.
if he only wants a 3-year deal,
I don't.
what are we waiting for?
I don't think he wants a 3 year deal.
You think that's all teams would be willing to give him?
Yes. I think it comes down to want versus reality.
Right.
DeGrom probably wants a 5-6 year deal and retire.
Right. Maybe
He's
an opt
going
out after
into
year 3 or 4, and then
he's
go
going
for
into
it.
what, year 9?
That
Debuted in
sounds right.
2014.
That
14,
sounds right.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Year 10. He's going into his 10th year in the league.
Right.
So, yeah, get a 5-year deal, play 15 years, go to Cooperstown, be the best starting pitcher of your generation.
Right.
But I think that is going to come down to what team's going to give him 5 years.
Yeah.
Because if you're Jacob deGrom,
He's
in the
34.
last,
And you see guys like Verlander and Kershaw shoving into their 40s at this point.
I don't know if Kershaw's going to make it to 40.
How old is Kershaw? I keep thinking Kershaw's so much older than he is.
Kershaw's, I think, around the same age as deGrom.
God, man, that's insane.
But you're at a point where, at least with deGrom, you threw 14, you made 14 starts this year.
In that ballpark.
You made like 15, 16 last year.
Mm-hmm.
You missed a year in between.
Right.
You've missed considerable time in 16. You had that half shortened 2020 year, more than half shortened. your third shortened. You
Yeah.
have your arm is not on a regular routine
Right.
year to year. The injuries have been an issue. It's been two different, it's been different injuries.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he got hurt it's not like he got hurt in 21. It took him a year to get back. No, he developed another injury. Excuse me. But I don't know who is giving a 34-year-old with injury issues a 5-year deal.
Right.
I
At
see
45
three.
to 50 million a year.
Right. I see three. I see three with a team option on the fourth.
Sure. Team
I,
option, vesting option, something along those lines.
I don't see five.
No,
I
that's
just
tough.
don't think it's feasible
Mm-hmm.
for him. And until then, I think three is just I think three is the way that anyone would go with him.
So let's just say it's a 3-year deal, right? He probably wants to set the record for AAV and deservedly so.
Oh, he might just stick around and take three 130.
That's what I was going to ask that same question.
Just
If
just
if
to
if you
just to
say if Jacob DeGrom says I want 3 years 135, do you hesitate? Why would you? This is a guy where if you combine his last 2 years to essentially be one full year, 26 starts, 12-6, 1.9 ERA. The 156 innings, how many times did he go 5 perfect and then have to leave because his elbow was sore or his scapula or his lower back or his shoulder? Like, I
he
get it.
hurt himself swinging.
Right. An ERA plus of 208 and a K per 9 of 14.3. I know he has injury issues, and maybe we're seeing this as Met fans, so we have the rose-colored glasses a little bit here. I'm not even. I'm writing the numbers down. I'm giving it to him. See at the press conference, and having close to $90 million for your top 2 pitchers. That sounds insane. I understand it, but like again, it's not my money. It's not your money. Steve Cohen's money, and if he's willing to do it, which it seems like he is, why not? Why not? Jacob DeGrom makes your team a better team. Jacob DeGrom makes you a significantly better World Series contender than without Jacob DeGrom.
Who is the only good start in the playoffs?
Yeah. And that was, man, let me tell you, that was such a typical Jacob DeGrom start. Like, if he didn't have his A stuff, but he still fought his ass off and got through 6 quality innings and you got the team to win. That's Jacob DeGrom in a nutshell. He wasn't striking out 15. He was still hitting 97, 98, but he wasn't as sharp, but still held the team down for 6 innings and he got the win.
I mean, yeah. I guess best I can really say is it's Jacob DeGrom. Like it's not debating what he can bring to your team.
Right.
I think it's more so debating for how long can he bring it.
Fair.
And I think that's where the question of 3 or 5 years comes in.
Okay.
Because he probably wants a 5, 6 year deal.
I'd imagine he does.
I mean, imagine if he had hit the market when he was supposed to. But if you're the Mets, I think you give him the 3, 4 years. I mean, I'd be comfortable giving him 4 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind 4 years.
I mean, like, I wouldn't have given, if you're giving me in a perfect world, I get to offer Edwin Diaz a contract that makes sense and he takes it no matter what. I would have given him $102 million.
Mm.
But, a huge part of sustainability and building a winning culture is keeping guys who want to play for you and want to win with your team in town.
Mm-hmm.
No one's a better example of that than Edwin Diaz.
Right.
Like I even talked about it yesterday. We talk all the time about guys who make it to New York with previous success elsewhere and then fail.
Mm-hmm.
This dude falls flat on his face. Then it's like the comeback of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And now he's the best reliever in baseball and one of the few spectacles in what really is just a regional sport.
Going back to dynamic players, Edwin Diaz is a dynamic player.
No,
He
I
came
mean,
in, and the game was over. Now, do we transition to my masterpiece that everyone hated so much?
I don't think I can call it a masterpiece.
I sure can.
There's so many issues with it.
What issues did you have with it?
The homerism.
The homerism.
You've been trying too hard for too long to get Drew Smith on the show.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you didn't think I was going to put Drew Smith in the elite no matter what, I don't know what to tell you, guy. People who haven't been following this account, this podcast for long, then it just kind of goes to show why you didn't think I was going to put Drew Smith in elite. Like every pitch he threw, I would scream from the mountaintops, it's Drew Smith season. Of course I'm putting him in elite.
So is this list based on just who they are as players in general, or their 2022s?
Okay, so that's a fair question. That is a fair question. Because I think looking at the list, it's pretty safe to assume that with some of them there was some reputation in the picks.
Right, like DeGrom's 22 overall was all right. It was good.
It was elite, I would say.
I see. I don't even know if I'd say it was elite, just because he got dicked by two really shitty teams. Like what the A's did to him.
I mean,
There's like a child block on those videos on YouTube.
yeah. Yeah, you need to be 18 or older to watch them.
Yeah, like that was unruly stuff.
Yeah. Borderline illegal, I would say.
No, exactly.
And listen, I get
But
that.
but like looking at just from the numbers, 5-1, or sorry, it's postseason. 5-4, 3.08, and 0.75 whip, 102 strikeouts, and 64 innings. It
Right.
was good, pretty good. Strikeout numbers are great, base runners are great, elite. But the 3-0, it was a case of he's not letting contact happen. He's not allowing contact, but when he does, it's leaving the yard.
There are some times where he would
I mean,
make insane
O'Neal
pitches.
Cruz.
Yeah, like that pitch was stupid, bro. That was one of the most insane home runs I can remember seeing post juice ball era. That was a back foot slider at 94, perfectly located, that he just somehow one handed into the bullpen. That was
Dansby Swanson one too.
just a
I
bad pitch.
I think that's just like
That was down the dick. Oh, the first Dansby Swanson one.
yeah.
Yeah, like the 101
All
on
of
the
them.
black.
I think that's just a perfect summation of DeGrom's year. 5 perfect innings, and then a middle 99-mile-per-hour dick high fat cock. Like it was a cock shot.
Yeah.
99 cock shot right down the pipe.
Yeah. Listen, I get people want to talk about DeGrom, but I'm not bending the knee on that one. The next that motherfucker in September. I'm not arguing that one. That's the right call.
Oh Lord, someone just sent me an Anthony Tacoma, not an Andy Martino tweet.
Oh, so that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Well, I can't see it.
An Andy Martino tweet. Was it
26.5 million is deferred.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We love the show with that.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
All
also
right.
makes
Well,
sense.
back to your shitty list.
I disagree. Escobar in September was, I mean, come on.
Right.
No arguments there.
I think if you're gonna have, I think Pete Alonso should have been an elite.
I understand that one.
I think Seth Lugo should have been a quality role player.
You know what? I can see that one. I can understand that one.
I mean, he's like the third, fourth best reliever out of the pen.
Yeah.
Got some good outs, but he definitely had his moments.
Yeah. Like looking at it, if I can make changes, which I'm not going to because again, it's a perfect list. I would drop Lugo down and I would raise Nimmo to elite.
I also think if Drew Smith is gonna be elite, I think Joely Rodriguez has to be elite purely for the video of him saying a Starling Martes,
I
purely for that video, and just the
Jack
great
Ramsey, you
content.
son of a bitch.
Just, I mean, this man was a content machine.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. So if anything, I probably should just made its own category for Starling Martes and put Joely in there.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people talk about Pete being elite, and I get that. I get his name rhymes with elite. That's a strong argument, very strong argument. Pete Alonso is a elite power hitter. I don't think anyone's going to argue that one. However, I don't think he's in the elite category just yet. If he gives me another year like last year where he's hitting 280, he's hitting 40 dick bombs, and he's driving in 140, yeah, okay, 100%. But I think because it's no secret, he gets a little streaky. His defense is absolutely improved, but it's not it's still not great. His base running isn't the best, but I'm not going to hold base running against that. I think there are enough areas to improve and enough room for improvement for me to justify not putting Pete Alonso in the elite category. Again, elite power hitter, but not elite baseball player. Does that make sense?
Yes. But are these elite based on the Mets roster, or are these elite based on their standings in baseball?
I get it, but I stand by my list. It's a perfect list. Perfect list. Jankowski's elite,
Jankowski's gonna be playing in the KBO next year.
which is elite.
Let's talk Trey Turner a little bit.
Let's talk Trey Turner a little bit.
So let's say you sign Trey Turner.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you do with him?
I'm wondering the same thing. Like, would he take a contract to play a different position? There is one person who notably said last year that he'd take a contract to play in a different position, and I said it so much that I bothered you. Carlos Correa would play another position, but will Trey Turner?
I
Because he
think the
played
better
when the trade happened last year, he played second base for the rest of the year, right?
he played second base because
Because they had
Seager was still
right.
short.
So you
He
could put him
played
at second,
You could put him in center.
but does he want to? You can give him the biggest contract, but if he doesn't want to play short, if he doesn't want to play second or center, I don't know if he takes it.
Right. And I don't think you can stick him at third.
I don't think so.
And even then, I'm not sure if I'm just giving up on Brett Beatty.
Exactly. I would love to see it happen. Guy's one of the best players in baseball.
Could you put him at second and stick McNeil in left?
Yes.
And
Next.
well, let's say, no one's saying that it's Trey Turner or Brandon Nimmo.
Sure.
Let's say in some fucked up world you do both.
Right.
In theory, put McNeil in left,
Right.
Nimmo still in the center.
Right.
You have Marte in right.
Mm-hmm.
Marcano is only really good for 110, 120 games, basically. Especially if you're considering
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. But if you're looking at it as the production he was giving you, those extra 20, 30 games was not good.
Right.
He fell off a cliff in September.
Yeah. After the Philly game, he kind of disappeared a little bit.
Yeah, he peaked.
Yeah.
But
Which, I mean, what a time to peak.
Oh, absolutely. But he fell off a cliff in September.
Right.
So now, if you can have him as you have Canna as some fourth outfielder where he's, starting 80 games.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not starting Beatty against lefties.
Probably not.
So in those games, I'm operating in assumption they move Escobar this winter.
Fair, fair.
Um,
Moving
But if
forward, I'm assuming they move Escobar and McCann,
right, and I would even argue McCann has a movable contract now. 224 for a catcher who at least had positive production last year.
especially after what Contreras is going to get. That guy's going to get freaking paid.
Right. But so I mean, in theory, there I think there is a world in which you can start Canna like 80, 90 games. He gets into like 120, 110. And you're not starting Beatty against lefties in those days. You put McNeil at third, Turner at second, Canna on left.
Mm-hmm.
In the days you're starting righties, you got Beatty at third, McNeil at second, um, McNeil in left, Turner at second, Nimmo up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. I don't think they move Canna,
I don't think so.
but I think Escobar at 1 year, 10 million is pretty movable.
I think it's very movable.
McCann at 224 is after a year of positive production is movable.
And I think worst case scenario, you attach a prospect to it that might not have a future with the team. Like the first one that comes to mind is a Ronnie Mauricio. See what we can get in return for him.
Yeah.
But either way, I think 2 for 23, 2 for 24 for at bare minimum a very good defensive catcher. I think it's movable. You might not get a whole lot in return, but you can get something for him.
I mean, I really do feel like you can get something for these guys.
Yeah,
I think it's the worst in getting McCann's money off the books
right. Especially if you
is
want to go balls to the wall and sign all these guys, clearing out that 12
12
million a
million a
year.
year. I mean, you can give 12 million a year to a high leverage reliever. So
Robert Suarez.
right now your relievers in their contract for next year are Diaz, Drew Smith, Robert Curtis if they pick up the team, or John Curtis if they pick up the team contracts, Sean Reed Foley, Joey
Givens if they pick up
Lucchese,
if the
Givens if the mutual options picked up, Tyler McGill if you see him as a reliever,
and Montes Diaca,
and Montes de Oca.
who I think is disgusting. And if he can just learn where the strike zone is going to be nasty and a valuable piece. But you can't rely on that.
No. And especially like you still need that bridge to Diaz.
Yeah, you still got to get there.
Whether that is bringing back Diaz or Ottavino in May, or bringing Lugo back or whoever, you still need to get that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think John Curtis is a fine seventh, eighth reliever.
But he
And he
hasn't
was
pitched in a year and a half, so we don't know
right.
anything about him.
He did well after the deadline in 21, but he almost immediately blew out his elbow.
Right.
So you need to build that bridge. I mean, Drew Smith should not be more than like your fourth best reliever. And even then, that's shaky.
He's another guy where
You
at
want 2 to
times,
3 Drew Smiths in your bullpen,
correct.
but you also
He's
want
a
two
guy
to
where
three.
at times he's unhittable, but at times where we've seen this
He's
year,
hittable.
very, very prone to the home run ball. And if you're not going to be if you're not going to be blowing teams out, you can't have that happen consistently.
No, yeah. I mean, like you want, like I said, you want 2 to 3 Drew Smiths in your bullpen.
Right.
You also want 2 to 3 guys better than Drew Smith in your bullpen.
100%, without question.
If Drew Smith is the best of that second tier of relievers, then you're probably fine.
I think so.
Because in theory, that tier they should all be very closely aligned.
Right.
A Drew Smith, a Trevor May, a Michael Givens. Those guys probably aren't all that far apart. Especially when Givens is on and he's doing as what he was doing in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, he came over with an ERA in the mid twos.
Right.
He just happened to blow his shit out right away. I mean, he corrected himself at the end. He was fine down the stretch, and he pitched well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But through the Mets, I think the key upgrade spot is Seth Lugo.
Yes.
Let's say in this world you bring back Givens, you bring back May, still Smith, Diaz is back, you bring back Ottavino.
Strong five.
But it's in theory you should have a really strong six that bridge you, and then you have your two whatevers.
Here's
Remember
my
last year for
problem
the
though.
Mets, it was a rotating door, and it was Trevor Williams. Not that Trevor Williams is whatever, but he could be your long man, swing man, setup man, come in and get you out of a crunch, spot starter, opener, whatever.
No, he was great. He was great.
But for me, the key upgrade spot is over Seth Lugo.
It's over Seth Lugo, and please, for the love of God, get an actual lefty who can get lefties out.
Andrew Chafin might just be that guy.
He might be that guy. They missed out on him last year. They ended up with Chase and Shreve, and he was the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Please send Chase and Shreve to the sun. I would re-sign Chase and Shreve, just send him to a rocket to the moon. Joel Rodriguez is a fine left-handed reliever, but he by no means should be your top lefty reliever. And I get, as the season developed, Ottavino became your left-hand, your guy that got out lefties. Drew Smith was able to get out lefties, but there wasn't a left-handed guy that when Bryce Harper came to the plate with second and third and 2 outs that were able to get that lefty out. And that was a problem. I'm not saying it cost them the
for all
wild card
intents and
series
purposes,
because the Padres just pulled them, they just pants the Mets. But
that guy was that guy ended up being Seth Lugo because of how
yeah,
good he was against lefties.
again,
But the
he was one of the
inverse
guys that
flip
was able to
was,
get out both guys, but
but
you
he
need a
still
lefty
wasn't as good
specialist.
as right, and he still wasn't nearly as good as you kind of hoped he would be.
Right. Right.
So I think if you're the Mets, the clear upgrade spot is over Lugo. I
Right.
mean, who knows? Maybe you don't bring back Trevor May and you substitute that for like an Andrew Chafin.
Sure.
Or you go and you trade for Jake Diekman out of Boston
I think you take that swap.
or whatever you need to do.
Right.
But you need a strong 5 that lead you to Diaz.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you have Drew Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Givens role can easily be done.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you can figure that option out. But you need to find a way to, whether it's bring Ottavino back, bring Trevor May back, go and raid the relief market, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You need to find a way.
I just think it's important to have a very clear bridge to the 9th inning. Like last year, it was in some variation of starters go 5 or 6, and the 7th inning is either Smith, May, Lugo. 8th inning was Ottavino. 9th inning was Diaz. As of right now, and listen, I get the offseason has only been going on for 36 hours. I understand that. But moving forward, as of right now, it's starters, question mark, question mark, question mark. I guess 8th inning Drew Smith, 9th inning Diaz. You need to spend this offseason. I think the 3 biggest keys are get one big bopper bat. You need one more bopper. I still think you need to bring in one more starter, excluding DeGrom, because I'm of the standpoint, maybe I'm wrong thinking this, I'm of the thought process that Jacob DeGrom is a Met until proven otherwise. So you need to bring in one more starter besides that, fix the bullpen. Those are the 3 big keys.
I mean, the bullpen's gonna need the most work purely just because
100%.
of who the pending free agents are.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean,
relievers, as we've noted, time in and time out, they're very volatile. So you never know what you're going to get with them. But you need to figure it out.
yeah, and I think like we've said on previous episodes, they need to allow some of their younger guys to figure it out. Because you don't want to be in a spot every winter where you have to go out and sign 6, 7, 8 relievers.
Right.
If you give a Bryce Montes de Oca time to figure it out, and he does, have a dependable back end arms under contract for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I fully believe he will figure it out.
I think so.
Maybe you take this offseason and you commit to Tyler McGill, the reliever. And if you can figure that out, so a dependable back end arm.
You got someone to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mets are going to have to look those 2 guys as players in the eye and figure it out.
Yeah.
Montes de Oca has the stuff. Are you going to give him the time to have the growing pains and figure it out? I'm not sure Tyler McGill is a starter. This will be year 3 of, is Tyler McGill a part of the Mets rotation? Is he not?
Fair.
It's be year 3 of it.
Yeah.
How many years can you do this?
Right.
I mean, again, I think the Mets' biggest thing right now should be just stability. You should pick up that Carrasco option regardless, because you can then just go ahead and trade it if you find something better in the market. Like I think a lot of teams, if you're like a Baltimore, I'm jumping on Carlos Carrasco at 1 year, 14 million.
Why not,
You
man?
probably have to give up nothing for him.
Try to, that's a great spot, man. A team trying to make that leap. They played over their heads this year, trying to prove that it's sustainable and not a fluke. And they got all the prospects in the world, bro.
But you look at that rotation, is Jordan Lyles really your number one? If Carlos Carrasco got traded to Baltimore today, he'd be the best starter on
He'd
that
be their
team.
opening day starter.
He would. I mean,
He would unquestionably be their opening day starter, unless they
Jordan,
want to go nuts and say Grayson Rodriguez is starting opening day.
right. But Kyle Brandish, 23 starts and ERA of 5.
What was it? Jordan Lyles, Dean
Tyler
Kramer,
Wells, 23
Tyler
starts at
Wells.
4.25. Dean Kramer was good, I think.
Yeah, I like Dean Kramer.
22 starts at 3.23.
Yeah.
You have Dean Kramer, you have Jordan Lyles. You have Dean Kramer, you have Jordan Lyles.
End of list.
But that's the thing about this Carrasco deal is I pick up that option regardless because now you at least have the ability to trade it.
But and
And maybe Baltimore has a controllable reliever they don't want to deal with anymore.
right.
Or maybe you're dealing with a team like Houston where you just have like 13 reliable relievers. And you can
I'm glad
send
you brought up
Carrasco.
Houston. I'm glad you brought up Houston because obviously they won the World Series. Yeah. Woohoo! And we could finally put the whole trash can thing to bed because, for the love of God, the entire time the Mets are trying to be like the Dodgers East Coast, right? That was one of their mission statements. Maybe we should start building like the Houston Astros. They got studs top to bottom, and they see what wins in October. They've been there every year for the past 15 years.
The Houston Astros have the single best player development system, arguably baseball history.
Like, they
I
let
mean,
Carlos Correa walk, and here's this 25-year-old rookie who might just be better than him. The first rookie position player to ever win CS MVP and World Series MVP in the same year. Home runs and great bullpen won October. That's how they got there. Now, yes, the sustainable rallies helped, and the Mets are very good at doing that, but they're not as good as putting the ball over the fence as Houston are. They weren't as good in the bullpen as Houston was. The Houston bullpen was the best in postseason history. They had a
0.83.
0.83 ERA throughout the entire postseason.
I mean, even just looking at these dudes like Framber Valdez, Jose Iquerdi, Ryan Presley, they took him to another level.
Jose Urquidy might be a number 3 or 4 on almost every other team. He pitched in one game in the postseason. One.
They fixed Hector Neris.
Yeah.
I mean,
They fixed
Christian
Rafael
Javier,
Montero.
Luis Garcia, Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero,
They
Blake
had a
Taylor.
guy, they have a guy in Christian Javier who is now a household name. But the past 2 or 3 years, they had no idea what his role was. Was he a reliever? Was he a starter? They bounced him back and forth. I'm not saying like a Tyler McGill because as of right now, as much as I love Tyler McGill, it's not in the same stratosphere as Christian Javier. But the kid is so disgusting that he's blowing 93 by guys and they're an hour and a half late on it. And he's just now figuring out if he's a starter or a reliever. The past 3 years, he's been back and forth. He'd make 14 starts, but he'd make 25 bullpen appearances.
Trevor Williams, if you will.
Sure. But again, not even the same stratosphere.
No, yeah, same.
But in terms of role and usage, yes, very much like that. The way they built their organization, the way they develop guys,
James
like you
Click
said,
he has like almost like a Belichickian sense of knowing when to let guys walk.
right.
That was that's the thing that pisses me off. That would piss me off the most about like the peak Patriots. Was Belichick would let anyone walk. Like I remember when Wes Welker came to the Broncos, I was like, you're not replacing Wes Welker.
Right.
They did like 3 times.
Yeah.
They pulled some fucker out of the lacrosse league,
Right.
named him Chris Hogan, and he was immediately one of the best slot receivers
He
in the
was an
game.
all pro. Yeah.
He was an all pro. He was at the Pro Bowl. Like
And then he got a big contract and he was a dud in what was it, Miami, I think?
that was Amendola.
Thank you.
Yeah, even like Amendola.
They're all 5'8" white guys. They all just
Or that wasn't Amendola. That was yeah, they're all the same. But like James Click just like he lets Correa walk, and for all intents and purposes, Correa is a great year in Minnesota. Minnesota's a great deadline. Like their second half
man.
it was inexplicable.
Sure.
No one knows what happened.
Yeah.
Just everyone got hurt and they fell apart, I guess.
Yeah.
But like
That's just a circumstance.
but he had a great year.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not sitting here saying, man, like he deserved every bit of that 35 million he made this year.
Right. Like
What we're
Corey's
saying is
27?
28.
It's 28. Yeah. Like Corey
What
might make $300 million and you can justify letting him walk.
But what we're saying, the talk we're having right now is, holy shit, Jeremy Pena is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, what did Dusty say? The only Dominican dude to ever go to University of Maine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like looking at the Dodgers too. Like you're sitting there, you're thinking you can't let Corey Seager walk.
Right.
Like great, you'll shift Turner back to second. It's okay, but like you can't just let him walk.
Right.
You let him walk, and Gavin Lux finally figures it out.
Yeah.
Like these things aren't coincidental.
Right.
So maybe for the Mets is you can't just let Chris Bassett and Taiwan Walker walk.
Oh, maybe you can.
Maybe you can. Maybe you can, and this is where David Peterson figures it out. This is where Tyler McGill puts it together.
Yeah, listen, David Peterson had a
Jose Budo.
10-start stretch where
No,
he
I'm
was
kidding. I'm kidding.
nasty.
It's an S tier slider in baseball.
Like, I think first half of the season, it was one of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't know what happened in the second half. I don't know if just guys figured him out or he wasn't as sharp. I don't know if he was batting an injury. I have no idea.
Guys were healthier and you got more to shuffling him up and down from Syracuse and back. And I think if there's one thing baseball players are, they're creatures of habit and routine.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you're shuffling dudes up and down and you really have no idea what way anything is going. I mean, for much of August and September, did we know how many starts Dave Pearson would make? No.
No.
Even though like he came out of the pen, he got rocked. They put him back in rotation. He gets demoted after a good start. He comes up, he just he dicks the Braves left and right, gets sent back down. Like that man owned Atlanta this year.
No, he got a raw deal last year.
And there really is no reason not to pencil him in as your number 5 starter next year. Because like I've said with Montes de Oca, you have to give these guys chances to figure it out.
Sure.
You have to give them some sort of reign. Doesn't work, figure out the deadline.
Yeah.
Maybe like the grace of God, Jose Budo suddenly becomes like legitimate prospect again.
Well, I mean,
again. Quality depth.
The kid had stuff. He had no idea where he was throwing it. And then when he was throwing the strike zone, it was a very hittable pitch.
Yeah.
They still won that game.
Still what matters.
Won that game.
Wins a win.
Right.
But I think you have to give someone like David Peterson 15, 20 consecutive starts.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And again, if in those 18 starts you say, all right, you know what, we're going to give him the guy the rest of the season, great. If not, trade deadline. There you go. Let's figure something out.
The best teams know when to relinquish and replace.
Yeah.
The Mets have not been good at that.
I think they've gotten better in the short term recently, but
I think they should have
a lot to prove.
I think they should have let Cespedes walk after he opted out in 2016, right?
That sounds right.
Did he even opt out after? Yeah, he did. He was signed 17, 18, 19, 20.
Right.
I think they probably should have let him walk then. There was no reason to bring back Familia the second time.
Well, no, but he was, CAA guy, so the guy in charge sign the entire
Fair. But
clientele.
I think
No conflict of interest though.
Yeah, they've not been good at knowing when to let guys go.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is their chance.
Right.
Maybe you're looking at Adam Ottavino and you're like, no, this dude is run down, but we got the last ounce out of him.
It's quite possible.
Like look what happened to Addison Reed once he got to Boston. Then subsequently Minnesota.
He had nothing left.
He had nothing. The Mets got the last ounce out of him, moved him.
Mm-hmm.
Steven Nagosic still kicking. That's the other dude. Steven Nagosic's under contract. Steven Nagosic's another one. You're gonna have to. He looked good last year.
I'll tell you what. I forget he exists until he gets inevitably called up in June, and then sent back down after.
You can make a case that he should. You can pencil him into like their 8th reliever spot.
Maybe. They'll be in competition for it.
No, right. I mean, if you're the Mets, you go into camp, like, we're just going to leave this last spot open. Somebody win it. When you're letting the likes of a Nagosic.
He can go 2 innings at a time.
Right. He can. Montes de Oca can. If you're letting these guys just battle it out and figure it out, I don't think it's the worst idea.
Yeah.
Because what's the easiest position to upgrade at the deadline?
Reliever.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
I have class in 45 minutes.
All right. Do you have a quick prediction or you got nothing?
Well, I don't know when we're going to record again.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay. Well,
will there be a major move before we record again? Let's go there.
I feel like that usually is what predicates us recording.
Well, I'm not just saying Mets. I'm just saying all of baseball.
My insanely hot take that's based on nothing and nothing more than that is that Aaron Judge will publicly say that he's not returning to the Yankees.
Okay.
Those contract negotiations have gone too public. Cashman was public again with him the other day.
Yeah.
Who, mind you, is not working under a contract.
Yeah, that was that was strange to me.
That was odd. Yeah, I'm gonna say Aaron Judge will go public with the Yankee negotiations and say he is not returning.
All right.
And he will be a San Francisco Giant.
Yeah. I'm
That's clear
in agreement there. I'm in agreement there.
Okay. Well, also they still have announced awards.
No.
I'll say Buck wins Manager of the Year.
Okay.
Diaz is. We don't talk about. We know he's gonna win Reliever of the Year.
Who else?
Yeah, Helsley.
Gosh.
I will say Buck wins Manager of the Year. McNeil wins the Silver Slugger.
Okay.
And here's one we can do. Who will get the most? Who will be the highest Mets MVP finisher?
I mean,
I'm gonna say Edwin Diaz. Because I think he's gonna probably finish 5th or 6th in Cy Young voting.
Because you probably, I think you have 3 candidates. You have Pete, you have Lindor, you have Diaz.
Probably McNeil.
I was gonna say maybe bottom.
Do they go 20 deep or 40 deep?
I'm not sure about that.
If it's 20 deep, I don't think McNeil scratches.
If it's 40 deep, then he absolutely does.
Yeah. I think he probably into somewhere in the 20 to 25 range.
Yeah.
But I will say Diaz is the Mets' highest MVP vote.
I'm going to say Pete.
Buck win Manager of the Year?
Oh, yeah.
Any random award predictions? Hot take? You got mine.
I'm trying to think of a trade that could happen in the next couple of weeks, but it's way too early for trade season. Like major trade season. Like I'm not counting Sam Hilliard to the Braves because who gives a shit until he hits a 3-run homer against the Mets.
Yeah,
trying to think what are like the awards?
You got one. Well, I'm trying to think. What's the big
Rookie of the Year? They're obvious. Manager of the Year, obvious. Cy Youngs are. I mean, just give them away at this point.
Verlander, Alcantara.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Think Cashman goes back to the Yankees?
I was gonna say no, but if they had a press conference and he was there without a contract, I'm assuming he's going to be back.
It's just weird.
Here's a very quick one, and then I'll let you go because I know you have class. Who runs the Mets? Like, who is the top voice of the Mets in 2023?
Billy Epler.
You think it's going to be Epler?
Because I mean, assuming they hire a team president who's just strictly that, a team president. Well, I mean, like,
Because I think your main three options at this point are Billy Epler, David Stearns, if they grant permission, and if the rumors are true that he's going to leave the organization, James Click.
I have a fourth that I can't say because I was asked not to say,
But you'll
but
let
there,
me
of
know after we're done recording.
course I will. There's a very big name who is keeping tabs on
Okay.
the Mets organization.
Okay.
Not necessarily interviewing,
Okay.
interested, actively talking. He's keeping tabs on the organization.
You said big name guy.
Massive name.
Massive name. Interesting.
Um, and I think we'll see a lot more of this just because Sandy Alderson is out of the way.
Right.
Part of me thinks they would have hired Theo Epstein if Theo didn't have to report to Sandy Alderson. It's
Right.
almost like a slap in the face to him. The
Right.
man's a Hall of Famer if he never touches a baseball again in his life.
Sure.
But then why do you want to turn around and report to Sandy Alderson?
That's fair.
I think it's what we're going to see a lot more of guys that are more willing to make the jump now, since that they had now have a clear direct line to Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
That's what these guys want. If you're the top decision maker in the organization, you want a line to the owner.
Yeah.
And just think Moneyball. How many times is Billy just sitting in the owner's office?
Sure.
He never had to go through the team president. There's no scene where Jonah Hill's calling the team president to ask if he can speak to the owner.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you what, and I said this to you before. I wouldn't hate if the rumors were true about James Click. I wouldn't hate that. The guy just won a freaking title.
yeah,
But we'll see.
but we'll see. I think they'll hire a team president soon.
Now, do you mean team president or president of baseball ops?
Team president.
Okay. Either way, they'll still be the head guy.
Right. I mean, I can see a world where someone I can really see a world where they hire a baseball ops guy as team president. They promote Billy to president of baseball operations, and they promote like Ben Zosmer
Yeah.
to general manager.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like that. Yeah, like in no
Not a
time,
horrible
Andrew
path.
Friedman. No, I mean, in no time, Andrew Friedman will be the president of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
What's his shit in Tampa will be the president of the Rays.
Yeah.
Well, if Silverman ever retires, but things get interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be a very, very fun, exciting, and many other adjectives off season and winter for the New York Mets.
Long,
active. But as always, it's Antonio Slater. It's Jack Ramsey. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, unsubscribe, resubscribe, follow again, do all the big old song and dance for our YouTube and Twitter accounts. And as always, LFGM.